Alright, I'm about ready to pull the SD card, dump the video clips to my laptop, and edit this video for you. So I hope you like what I'm creating this time. Ain't nothing big, no fanciness yet, I'm still learning. But like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. I appreciate it. God bless you. Well, as you can see, it might be a little windy on the mics, but camper's over there. Boy, when it rains, it pours, let me tell you. I'm at a campground where I could plug in for electricity. And actually, I'm coming in here to take a shower and clean up. I just finished working on the camper. I don't even know where to start. My batteries had dumped, and my diesel furnace wasn't working. So with the cold weather, I've been freaking out. I knew here I could plug in and have power while I was working on all my solar battery bank stuff. I had to make a quick fix. I had a 70 amp circuit breaker that fried out because I wasn't getting the right voltage through it. So that fried out. So I made kind of a double backup pass thing. Maybe I'll put a picture in or something of what I did to modify it so that way it's safe. I got a 300 amp breaker instead of 700, which is not safe, but I got that turned off. That's only to turn on in an emergency if I need heat. And then I bypassed that with a 30 amp, which is supposed to be 70, which the 30 will kick out even faster if there's a problem. So that way it's safe to where it won't start a fire, but if I really need heat, then I could turn on the 30 amp breaker, the 300 amp breaker, but I'd have to be there to watch it to make sure wires aren't getting hot or nothing like that until I can afford to get a 70 amp breaker and put the proper one back in. So I've basically got a double breaker going on the line. The 300 amp is turned off, and then I got a little 30 amp blade fuse jumping it to replace the 70 amp breaker. So it's safe now. I'm gonna have my heat working again. I feel so much better. I haven't conquered the world in a day yet, but I'm working on it. Hope you're liking the video. Oh, here we are in another clip. I just stopped at my church in my area. Just stop in and BS with them, and no one was there, so on my way to the library to edit and upload. I had I had to go slow there. I didn't want to scrape my bumper on the way out of that driveway. Anyway, I should turn on this radio. Things, sometimes when it rains it pours, it gets tough, and then it gets tougher. But the Lord works in mysterious ways. Things are going good even though they're bad, Life in general is still trying to whoop me, but I won't let it happen. And neither will God. Anyway, it's getting cold here in Minnesota. Ain't super freezing cold yet. That stuff hasn't came yet, but I know it's on its way. And I had a problem with my battery bank for inside the camper that dumped out, and I didn't have power to run my furnace, so I haven't had no furnace for the last so many days. Well, prior, I got it fixed now. I'll tell you about that. But anyway, I might have said in one of my other videos, when you're just trying to survive, it's hard to dream, when you're trying to survive. And a lot of people forget about that, especially when they're doing good, and they forget about other people that are just trying to survive, And I thank the Lord that I'm strong enough I've been raised and believe in God and be strong enough to be the person that I am, because there's a lot of people, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, I don't mean that at all, but there's a lot of people that would be in my situation and really be more of a wreck than I am, You guys don't get to see it on camera, because if I was blubbering that much, I'd edit it out. Anyway, until I guess maybe someday I'll get comfortable. I'll get comfortable with crying on camera or something if I have an emotional thing I want to talk about. I don't know. But anyway, so back to my furnace. Oh man, with all the stuff I got going on, when that quit, and And each night was really cold, you know, and I'm like, I could sleep okay, you know, with the blankets and stuff and stay warm enough. And then until my head comes out of blankets while I'm sleeping, then I'm breathing cold air, and then it get too cold, so then I have to cover it up, and then it's too warm, you know, for breathing. Couldn't find that perfect zone. But anyway, you know, and it still ain't fun when your life's rough as it is, and you're waking up when it's freezing cold and all that kind of crap. You know, when you get older, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's neuropathy for me. It could be, but I don't know. You know, my toes, maybe they don't get as good a blood flow as they do, because in that cold weather, when it gets cold, man, my toes start really getting stiff. And but I've been exercising them more. I'm wiggling them around, keeping them moving. Anyway, gotta keep checking this camera, because sometimes it decides to cut out. And so far it's recording good. That's good. Anyway, when that happened, I was really stressed out about the other things going on in my life and how I'm going to survive and all that kind of stuff, you know. And not knowing exactly where my path is going, you know. And I mean, I got some kind of ideas about where I want it to go, but just because that's where I want it to go doesn't mean that's where God's going to send me. But anyway, with that furnace being out, oh man, I was stressing. I was about, and I keep my composure really well, you know. Even like when I was running nightclubs and stuff, you know, and bouncing and stuff, I was able to talk 99.9% of the people that were getting out of line out the door without it having to be an altercation, you know. And even though some people just be just stupid rotten, you know, but anyway, and I'd still, rather than losing my temper with them or having to get physical, I was always pretty good at talking, but I was ready, you know, for a physical thing if it would have happened, you know, because I got my master's degree in martial arts or whatever. But anyway, man, when that heater thing, man, it was stressing me out. I was about ready to just scream, you know. I mean, I've already been through it on an emotional roller coaster. So that was kind of like, you know, the proverbial straw that might break the camel's back. It didn't, though. This camel's got a strong back. I'm looking at all my wiring and my circuit breakers and all that stuff, and using my voltmeter to test voltage and figure out why I'm not getting certain volt. You know, it was just stressful because it's cold too. You know, so you're trying to get your heat going, and you're trying to figure the problem out. You're freezing, so now you got all this other stuff going on in life, and you're just like wanting to be like, ah. Anyway, so I knew it was too much. I already have so much going on in my life right now in survival mode that at that moment I had to step away from it and calm down and just bring myself somewhere else, you know. So I thought, nope, just set it aside for a minute, you know, take your tablet, find something to watch on it that'll take your mind away from everything for a little bit. So that's what I did. And I ended up watching some Gordon Ramsay stuff, learn how to cook, which I don't know if that was a great thing, because then I started getting really hungry. Because it looked really good, all that food. But anyway, it did. It took me away to help me calm down. And later on, I was able to kind of tinker with it more. When I would start my vehicle, I would have enough power to run my furnace, but then it's like that kind of defeats the purpose, because that's what the diesel heater's for, is so I can keep the camper warm without having to burn all this extra fuel running, you know, a big 460 V8 engine. And but at least, you know, and every time I turn the key to get that power to run the furnace, I'm burning diesel fuel, which for the furnace, that runs very efficiently. But the diesel furnace, in order to shut it down, when you shut it down, you can't just turn it off. It's got to go through a shutdown process if you don't want to wreck the diesel heater. So after you get it warm in here, get up to a certain warm level, then when you got to shut it off, and it takes like maybe 3 to 5 minutes for it to finally do its shutdown process. So that means I got to keep the engine running the whole time until that's done shutting down, so I don't wreck the diesel heater. So, and that extra 5 minutes is 5 minutes of me burning fuel that I can't afford, because I'm not working yet. So it was pretty stressful. And anyway, after calming down and watching some stuff, I was able to start up again, think about it a little bit more, get some ideas, you know, and think about how the electricity's flowing, you know, on whether it's charging from the solar panels where all that electricity flows, or whether it's charging from the engine running where that electricity flows. And then where the electricity flows on its way out, whether I'm running the inverter, which wires it all flows through and stuff, or whether I'm running off a 12 volt and the wires it flows through, and what breakers and all that stuff. A lot of, you know, math and electrical crap. Anyway, so after calming down, I was able to focus on that more. Whereas at the moment when I first started trying to work on it, when I was cold and stressing out because all this other stuff's already going on, and now I'm starting to freeze because my heater ain't working, my batteries are dead, and you know. Anyway, shut that off. I'm at the library, but anyway, so I was able to think through it all more clearly after I'd, you know, watched the show, took some time to bring myself out of that moment of anxiety and stress, you know, and then come back to it. I'm glad I was able to think ahead like that, you know, because then I was able to come up with some ideas and solutions. What I ended up doing is by deducing things that I got a 70 amp breaker in one of the lines that I figured that breaker must be bad, you know, even though the switch and stuff still functions. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, because I wasn't getting, when I'd shut off the engine and stuff, I wouldn't get the right voltage readings, but I'd get more voltage on my battery, but not through that line. So I knew I was losing power there. Then my next dilemma was, that's a 70 amp. The only extra breaker I had was a 300 amp. So for anybody that doesn't know about electricity, at 70 amps, that breaker's designed at anything over 70 amps, so that if that line starts heating, it'll kick open and stop the flow of electricity, so it don't heat the wire and start a fire. So if you put in a 300 amp in place, it won't kick out, because you could send 300 amps through it before it'll kick out, which means that wire could catch on fire easy. So that's the only thing I had, though, to put in the line, and then if I connect it, I got everything running again. But now if there's a problem, them wires would melt and catch on fire before that breaker would ever kick. And the breaker's supposed to be a safety. So then what I did, I came up with a pretty smart idea. I had a blade fuse like you have in your cars, a little wire deal that you can put a blade fuse in. It's for putting in an inline fuse on something. So then I made a jumper on that breaker with that blade fuse thing, and I put a 30 amp blade fuse in there, because that's the biggest I got is a 30 amp. So now, at least at 30 amps, if something's in there, that 30 amp fuse, sorry about snapping there, that 30 amp fuse should burn quicker. That way I won't have a fire or nothing. But in the event that 30 amp fuse blows, and I haven't afforded to go get some more fuses yet, or get the new breaker, at least if it's freezing cold and that 30 amp fuse burns, I can still turn it back on with that 300 amp breaker and still heat up the camper. But then I just got to keep an eye on it, you know, so I can monitor it to make sure, you know, feeling wires to make sure they're not getting too hot or whatever. And then once I get it up to temp, then I'd have to shut it down or whatever if I'm seeing problems, you know, or whatever. Or even if I'm not seeing problems, it's safer just to heat it up, shut it down, wait till it starts dropping temperature again, then do it again, which is a pain in the butt, but at least I got heat. Anyway, babbling on. Thanks for watching. God's always there for you. He's always there to listen, no matter. You can even think it, like I said in my other video. You can even think to him, he'll hear you. You know, but I talk out loud to God a lot, just like I'm talking to this camera, and I'm getting a little more relaxed with the camera. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next clip or something. Okay, this is the 70 amp breaker that was bad, and when something goes wrong, it'll pop out like that, and then you can reset it later like that. Well, this is no good. This is the one that went bad. Anyway, then down here, this is my whole solar battery bank setup. These are two 100 amp hour batteries here. This is a 3000 watt inverter here. This is all my 12 volt fuses for anything 12 volt I'm powering. This is a switch to shut off my solar panels if I want to work on something in the daylight so it don't send electricity through. And this is my DC to DC charge controller. Anyway, right here, this is where the 70 amp was. And I put in this 300 amp. And then I made this jumper here with a blade fuse like that's in a car. So when this is disconnected, it'll still charge through this 30 amp, but if more than 30 amps go through, then it would pop this fuse. And this should be a 70 amp, but it's a 300 amp there. And if the 70 amp burnt out, I don't know if it's just from use or what went wrong with it, but in order for me to run this one that's 300 amp, that shouldn't be in there. It should be 70 or 70, maybe an 80 amp, but 70 is what I put in there. But if I'm going to have this turned on when I'm running the vehicle and it's sunny out or whatever, I got to be here to watch this, because this is where my problem was. Anyway, so this breaker turns on and off or kills the power for the 3000 watt inverter. This one is for, that's showing there. This one here is for coming from the engine battery into the DC to charge the house batteries. And this one over here is from my solar. And I got the engine one shut off right now. So that's what I was talking about earlier, in case anybody was curious about all this stuff. Now you at least have a visual of what I was stressing on, because I had to think about all these different wires and where everything's running and where the power's coming, going, all that kind of stuff, and what voltage should be where and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, sorry for the messy camper. Of course, when I rotated the camera, if you've seen all the crap on my table and stuff over here, well, that's because, you know, you got limited space in here, and I had to move anything that was over there and stack it aside so I could open this all up and access it to work on it. But anyway, now you know what I was stressing about. Or an additional thing I was stressing about. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. Well, they're on lunch till 1 o'clock here at the library building, which also has the community service center in it. And I figured since they're on lunch for a while, I'd relax here for a minute and maybe read my Bible a little bit. I've been started out in the New Testament and been reading through that, and I'm going to try to read through that. I'm a slow reader. Videos I've absorbed the knowledge fast, but reading I got to read over and over, so I'll probably have to read the New Testament several times over before it starts sticking in my brain, because once I do that, then it'll stay in my brain and I'll be able to pull it up, you know, randomly or whatever. But anyway, here's where I am. This is what it looks like when I'm relaxed in my camper. I'm chilling, I guess. I guess they might call this B-roll. It's not like it has a whole lot of point to it, you know. Other than sharing my experiences with everybody. I feel weird doing it, especially since I'm still getting used to camera, but I can't wait until all the good things start happening, because then people can go back to my videos and they might see one of my videos in the future where things are going really good and I got other stuff going on, but then they'll be able to go back to these older videos and see when life was just kicking the snot out of me. Oh well, on to the next clip, I guess. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share it if you will. Help me grow. See you on the next one. God bless you.